If you remember this gum, then we can be friends. And in a minute, I'll be talking to the individual responsible for rejuvenating this $700 million iconic brand, the Bazooka CEO, talking candy right here at the NASDAQ. Hello everyone, this is Jabbar Young, senior writer at Forbes, and I am here at the NASDAQ market site, and I am talking to a hero. That's right, his name is Tony Jacobs, the CEO of Bazooka, the Bazooka candy brand. Tony, thank you so much for joining us, man, at the NASDAQ. I mean, this iconic brand, I've been studying it all week. I cannot wait to dive into the business with you. How you doing, sir?
Doing fantastic. That was quite an introduction, and thank you for having me here today,
thank
Jabbar.
you, man. I appreciate it. I had to practice like 4 or 5 times on it. This gum, this is my childhood right here, man.
Makes people happy.
Absolutely, man. How's business in 2024?
Business is fantastic. We went out on our own as a company back at the end of last year, and through really strong iconic brands, through innovation, we continue to drive growth. And we've had an incredible growth strength of the products over the last 10 years. We've been growing for 10 years straight, outpacing the category. Just a really amazing story.
Yeah, the confectionery business, right? Candy business. I mean, the push pop, you got the ring pop, man. I think I probably gave the ring pop to a couple of girls back when I was in elementary school. To be my girl. Right. You can be my girl, go steady with me, give them the ring pop. I mean, listen, this is May, right? We're almost in the midpoint of the year. And that we started the year off with New Year's resolutions. So I'm gonna ask you, right, in May, give me your mid-year's resolution. What is Tony Jacobs' mid-year resolution?
Well, for the company, it's really about how do we continue the growth trend we've had. We've had, like I said, 10 years of growth. In 2023, we outpaced the entire non-chocolate industry. We've had 3 years of outpacing the industry, so it's how do we keep that going? How do we continue to outpace the category? And that's through innovation. We've been taking these iconic brands that everybody knows so well, has incredible nostalgia for, and really think about new ways for people to experience them. New products, new segments, new places, new channels, and that is what we've been doing and winning, and we're going to continue to do that for the rest of the year.
Absolutely. Listen, $700 million what the company was sold for in 2023, right? Apex Partners taking over, get into that in a little bit, but you have a strategic investment that you announced in April, right? And with Patrick, right? This is the merchant bank, Patrick company, athletes like Metcalf and DK Metcalf, Derek White, Boston Celtics, Cade Cunningham, a whole bunch of athletes, and this is a $10 million development capital, 14 since the company was taken over by Apex that you've raised. Take me a little bit into this raise. This developmental capital, right? Developmental capital. What are you going to do with the money?
Yeah, so Apex bought the company, like you mentioned, back in October of last year. And we're excited to have them on board because what they're doing is taking a company that they believe in, that has strong growth, and really putting in place transformative growth. How do we invest organically? How do we invest inorganically to build this business? But what's also great is the network that Apex has got, and Patrick is a great example. And so what they've done is to bring Patrick in this group of 60 athlete investors into the company. So the investment is really about the athletes themselves and how we can partner with them to really build this business. And that's what I'm excited about. I mean, sports connects to consumers in such a powerful way. We talk to adults, we talk to kids, we talk to teens, and every one of them loves sports. They play sports, they watch sports, they play fantasy sports. And it's a great way to connect. And these athletes that we can bring in, you mentioned DK Metcalf, incredibly strong, passionate people, really excited to work with us and build a long-term relationship. It's not like they're going to come in and it's about, hey, how do I just put something on my social media channel? It's about how do they work with us for the long term to build this business. And that's really what's exciting about this partnership.
Listen, again, flashback 2023, right? $700 million deal. Former owner Michael Eisner, you worked for him for a while, right? You're the CEO, but you've been president at Bazooka for over 11 years at the company. When you think about how did that deal come together, and when you first heard that Bazooka could be on the market, like did you panic a little bit? You're thinking like, man, we're such a part of a group for a long time, and here you're doing standalone.
I never panic. I sell candy. Come on, it's always fun and exciting. So what I say, Michael Eisner, incredible owner. We're all about edible entertainment on this candy business, and that's a guy who knows about entertainment and really drove us to innovate, to think differently about these brands and build it. We had an incredible run. Like I said, we grew year after year for 10 years, and that attracted attention. So it was no surprise to me. If you look at what happened, the top side of the business, which was your original kind of baseball cards, we were the candy division. that was sold to Fanatics. And we knew once that sale happened, it would make sense for a sale to happen on our business. We're excited about that because we had grown and this was the next phase for us. And like I said, Michael Eisner is a great owner, but to have Apex come in as a new owner and really think, okay, how do we take this incredible growth and really take it to the next level by bringing in more capital, more investment, investing in infrastructure, investing in people, investing in innovation, and then looking at opportunities in the future of bigger ways to transform the business. That was just incredibly exciting. So the way it came about, it made sense based on how we had grown and the next phase for the company. I could not be more excited to work with Apex, to work with Patrikoff, and what that opens up for the business going forward.
And when you just mentioned Patrikoff again, what stood out about them, right? I'm sure you guys, when you say, hey, we want some development capital, you probably have a whole bunch of firms that's lining up, right? Again, this is candy, it's Bazooka, right? Who wouldn't want to be invested with Bazooka? But what stood out about Patrikoff? Why did you say yes to their investment?
They have a very different model. They're coming in not just about putting money in, right? It's about bringing these athletes to the table and what they can do to leverage their equity and put it together with these brands. So to me, it wasn't just about the money. It was around a network of people that could really help us reach our consumer, to help us think about products we could develop and make us together much more powerful than just the dollars on the table. And I look at DK Metcalf. This is great. The guy's incredible, an incredible athlete. But what's exciting about him, he's passionate about candy. He's called the candy man out there, right? He came in, and I thought it was just going to be a meet and greet with them. We'd shake hands, take a picture. He came in, they said, DK wants to present a PowerPoint to you.
Wow.
I'm like, a PowerPoint? I'm like, no celebrity's ever presented a PowerPoint to me. And he had 5 different ideas for the business.
What were they?
I can't share the details, but I'll give you the idea. One was around a gummy innovation, a gummy product innovation, leveraging how he's known. Another was a PR idea for Ring Pop, leveraging how he could interact with the brand. And another was for Bazooka, and that one I can talk a little bit about. It was about how do we bring athletes into what we call the Bazookaverse. And that's bazookifying athletes and letting them be part of the comics. Great ideas that he brought to the table. You can see in the release that we did, we bazookified DK Metcalf, and you see him out there, and it's a great way to update the comics, but he had other ideas, and we are exploring all those, and that, to me, to your question, is what's powerful. It's not just about money, it's that these athletes can work with us and really blow out what we're doing.
Did any other athletes stand out, or did any other one kind of replicate and do the same thing, maybe send you some ideas after they found out that DK did that?
I mean, a lot of these athletes, stand out. We've got Deja Kelly, we've got Derek White, Cade Cunningham, we've got CC Sabathia. But it started, DK's been the first to come in, and now the next phase of this, literally just announced. Next phase is working with those athletes to figure out how we can tap into them and where it's authentic. That's important to me. I want this to work for the athletes, where it makes sense to them and who they are, and matches with our brands, what we're about.
Again, you're no stranger to the company, Tony. You're the CEO now. You look in 2024. Again, still not done yet. A long way to go. Presidential year as well. But what's been the biggest surprise, biggest positive surprise about the confectionery business? It's a business that's $48 billion, right, in 2023, according to the National Confectionery Association, right? Part of the organization you're part of. So $48 billion. That's how much U.S. consumers spent on candy in 2023. And you look in 2024 now. What's been the biggest positive surprise?
What I would say, it's just the continued strength of the confectionery business year after year. And look, this is a challenging geopolitical environment. There's lots of scary things that go on all the time. Things are changing, but one thing is a mainstay. People love confections. And I am year after year amazed by whatever's going on, the environment, inflation, costs, this category grows because people love it. It's important to their emotional well-being. They see it as a treat that they can give to themselves a few times a week, and it makes them feel good. And I think for all of us, it captures that nostalgia, from when we were a kid, from when we were growing up, and makes us feel good. So I am constantly surprised at how, no matter what, this category does incredibly well. And it is to date, and our business, doing even better. We're outpacing the category once again. So.
And with positives, though, there are negatives, right? Any negative surprise that you see in 2020, like, hey, I didn't put that on my calendar, but it's something that we have to maybe adjust around outside of the geopolitical atmosphere?
Yeah, I mean, I would say no big surprise. The geopolitical piece, we have a global business.
Yeah.
We operate around the world, everywhere from Europe to the Middle East to Asia, and all the geopolitical events, do create, changes to our business and things we have to adapt to, and so those are probably the biggest things. Nothing else I would say major on the kind of the core business itself.
Yeah. When you think about it, right? You're again CEO now. What's the funnest part? What's the most fun part about being CEO of a company like Bazooka Candy Brands?
Yeah, look, I mean, number one, this business, you don't have a more fun business than candy. I always say, look, I can walk into any room, talk about candy, and people are excited to talk to me. I think for me as CEO, and being on our own as a company, that's been really exciting and fun to really map out where do we want to go. We were part of a larger organization. And to be where we can say this is where we want to go and how we need to resource and invest to get there and how we turn this into a really powerful company over the next 5 years, that's been exciting and fun for me, as well as making new fun products. Believe me, the funnest thing is taste testing the products. I'm not gonna lie, but as CEO, it's really carving out kind of what is our direction, how do we get there, and having ownership now that is fully focused on us as a confectionery company and doing all the things to build that.
Yeah, if you ever need a taste tester, I got a 10-year-old. She would love to do it, and you would help me with my grocery bill, Tony. So anytime you
will make that happen.
Let me know, man.
Right.
Definitely let me know. Let's talk a little bit about your background, man. You grew up in the New York area, right?
Yeah.
In Brooklyn. What was that like?
Yeah, so I grew up both in northern New Jersey and Brooklyn with my mom and my dad. I love New York. I love a lot of cities around the world, but this is the best city in the world. You really learn about life in this area. And great, I had a lot, I grew up having a lot of different jobs. I did every tough job there is. I pumped gas, I cleaned grills, I emptied garbages, worked in the grocery store. And I really think I got a good foundation of hard work and really understanding businesses from the bottom up before I went on to go to college, business school, and work in the more corporate world. So I think it was living in New York, the kind of, the work that I did as I grew up really got me ready for what my, very different job today, but to really understand people and understand how to operate.
Yeah, when you were that, again, I have a 10-year-old, so I'm gonna say 10. When you were that 10-year-old kid, Tony Jacobs sitting on the porch, right, eating some Bazooka gum. What did you want to be? Like, what was fascinating to you at that point?
Yeah, look, I mean, I love candy. Like this, my 10-year-old self would have said, "You've done an amazing job, Tony Jacobs, of where you wanted to be." But look, my dream was actually politics. Believe it or not. So my family was involved in politics on the kind of the media side, actually, and so that's actually where I always thought that I would end up. Maybe not at 10, maybe by the time I was 14 or so. But so I went to Washington, worked in politics for several years for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and then decided I wanted to really do something tangible. For me, I love politics, but I started to learn about creating products and consumer insights, and how did you develop things that would meet what consumers want, and that was exciting. And then to make something and see it on the shelf, to make a Bazooka product, to make a ring pop, and actually see it on the shelf, those most amazing things. So I pivoted and started getting into consumer products and marketing, which brought me to where I am today. And that 10-year-old would be very excited for how that, he wasn't that excited about politics, but candy.
Well, you got a political science degree, right, in George Washington University, right, before you got your business. So you fast forward to your timeline of your career, right? You've worked at brands, Dr. Pepper, Lifesavers. Again, you ran a Topps company before that was sold. If you had to provide some advice, some tips, right, to that person navigating the marketing career, one sentence, what would you tell that individual today?
Marketing. Best advice I ever got was learn about everything besides marketing. So the best advice I got was all about, to understand marketing, you have to understand the total business. You have to understand customers, sales, how the operations of a business work. I think people go into marketing and they want to just learn marketing. But if you want to be successful, you got to really understand the total business as well as the consumer. It was great advice. So all during my career, I focused on when I was in business school on taking lots of classes besides marketing. When I got into marketing, I spent time with the sales force, out in the field, out in customers, not just in the headquarter building. Really learned what made things work for both our consumer and the customer. And that's made me successful as I've grown into a general manager, into a president, into a CEO, is a full understanding of the business, not just one piece of it.
Yeah, is that your secret, Tony Jacobs' secret to marketing, to understand everything outside of marketing? But then you got to understand the marketing side.
And don't get me wrong, you need to do the marketing, but it can't be in kind of that classic ivory tower without understanding, because you can have a great idea. But if you don't know how to communicate it, if you don't know how to get people excited about it, if you don't know how it's going to work in the retail environment, or how to make it, or whether the financials work, it doesn't matter. You've got to be able to bring all the pieces together, because marketing, which I love, that was where I spent a lot of my career, is a leadership role where you are leading the organization to do those things that are critical, whether it's launching new products, building your brand equities, or communicating with consumers. And you got to understand all the pieces.
Yeah, when I think of marketing, man, I think of the movie Boomerang with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
I love that movie. It is a cultural movie, and it was some great, iconic characters in there, and it was all marketing, right? And I'm thinking, man, I might want to go into marketing, because Eddie Murphy did a great job just presenting that life and that style of and what you can do in it. Yeah. How do you kind of like, innovate around a legacy brand, right? How do you take Bazooka and make it so that it is so still important? I know it is still important today. Again, my 10-year-old eats it, but how do you kind of innovate around it? And again, I go back, me and you were talking off camera about the book Contagious, right? And how Kit Kat changed with their, Kit Kat and coffee, and then you have a number of iconic brands. They were able to just rejuvenate. How do you do that with Bazooka?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to understand what's important to your consumer today, and understand what the insights and trends are about them, but also what's going on in the broader world and the environment out there, and the media world, and try to bring those things together. And also it's got to be authentic to your brand. You can't just do something that doesn't connect to who you are. And you look at Bazooka today, we've just created the Bazookaverse. Mm-hmm. What's authentic about Bazooka? Incredible comics, right? Everybody loves the comics in Bazooka Joe, but how do you connect it to today? Well, connect it to things people love. What do everyone love today? They love entertainment, they love music, they love sports. All right, so how do we bring those things into Bazooka? And right now, for example, we've got a partnership with DC Comics, where you can see DC characters in Bazooka. So it's taking what was nostalgic and connect it to something exciting today. Yeah. And you've seen with this whole Patrikoff deal and the athletes we're working for, we're Bazookifying the athletes, and we're going to be bringing them into the comics. So it's a fun way, connects with what consumers are looking for, connects with what the brand is about in a meaningful way. And that's the most important. You got to just not talk at consumers. You got to talk with them in a way that is meaningful to them. So that's how we do it. Yeah. And other brands. You asked about the Kit Kat. You look at Ring Pop, incredibly powerful brand.
That's right.
We make 1 million Ring Pops a day in our Scranton factory.
You were telling me that. I couldn't believe it. 1 million a day.
1 million a day. And that's a brand that's been around since 1977. Yeah. But one of the things we've really connected it to is people now have parties, and they like to show those parties. They like to put them on social media and make them truly over the top. And so we've connected the Ring Pop to making a party that's all over the top. That's what the brand is about. And that's been an incredible connection for consumers. We're like, when I'm having a big party, I got to have Ring Pop. Mm-hmm. And we've not only sold the Ring Pops to them, we've given them ideas for how to make an over-the-top party, whether that's a Ring Pop piñata or a ball pit that's filled with candy. We're showing them how to make it exciting. So it's connecting what's important to consumers to your brand, and we're doing that on multiple brands.
Yeah, and you were talking again about the National Confectionery Association, and I was looking at a quote, and it was saying how candy hasn't been innovated. No one has taken it and just really innovated around. You look at the M&M packets; they all look the same. Like, it's just like, where is that newness coming from? Where is that innovation? Right now, we're in this era of generative AI. Like, where do you see the candy business going when it comes to innovating products and making it? So again, listen, we're going to love candy. It can be wrapped in I don't know what, but we're all going to eat it. But don't you want that driver to bring people to it? How do you innovate in this new era with this technology, social media, generative AI? How do you do that?
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot of innovation in the confectionery category. There probably was a few years where during COVID, things slowed down the innovation side, where people were focused just on supply chain and getting the products people loved here, and I think you'll see more. But I can definitely talk from our standpoint. We have continued to innovate significantly and do even more of it. We're all about edible entertainment. That is kind of the North Star for our business. And it means that when we launch an innovation, it's not going to look like anything you've seen before or experienced before. We make it always an exciting new experience. We launched a product called Juicy Drop Dippin' Sticks a couple years ago. And it was a gummy stick in a cup that you could open with liquid and dip that in there, and nothing like it that consumers had seen before. The social media was incredibly strong behind it, and it did incredibly well. So to your point, we're looking at things that are truly differentiated, unique out there, that bring this edible entertainment idea to life. And you bring up things like AI and social digital media. It gives you a real opportunity to even on the one side with the social side, really tap into your consumer base even more so today. Yeah. If you go back to when I started out 20 or 30 years ago, it was much harder. You had to schedule a focus group, talk to people. Now you can get immediate feedback on things people are interested in, how they think of products you're developing. And then AI clearly can help as you brainstorm ideas around there. Look, AI is not perfect, but it's a fun, good starting point to type some things in, right? Get some ideas that then your team can go back and work. So I think you're going to see a lot more innovation from us, definitely, and in unique and differentiated ways for people to interact with the product.
Yeah, we were talking about that comic thing behind camera. I'm telling you, man, you're sitting on the gold mine, man. look into that. I went to LinkedIn, man. Again, I told you when I mentioned you were coming here, people from LinkedIn, they were like, wait a minute, let's capture this. So this is coming from Anita Clark off of LinkedIn. I would love to know the marketing strategy behind placing a cartoon with every piece of candy. And we talked about that off. Some would see it as an extra cost. Would love to know the backstory.
Yeah, look, the backstory goes back to, 1947, Bazooka was launched. And it wasn't until 1951 they were searching for ways to drive growth of the brand. And it was, how do we bring something value out of there? How do we engage more? And they created this idea of a comic to create this connection of something you would be looking forward to. You could just chew gum, but that's chewing gum. When you get something that you can relate to, that connects to you, and it was a comic, and comics obviously back then were huge, right? So how do you bring something kids love, comics, into a piece of gum? Yeah. Nobody had done it before, and that was the kind of the background. The question today is, how do you keep making that exciting in a world that's all about digital and online? And what I would say is, our comic is a little, counterculture, right? It's around, just like some people, you love getting a letter today because it's a novel idea. I think that comic is like that, right? It's exciting. You get a comic. I haven't seen a comic, but then it's about how do we do something new with it? And like I said, we can bring sports figures, we can bring superheroes into it to connect. But that's kind of the background, and I think is important today, and actually very different today because people aren't consuming their comics, live in a physical world.
Yeah, don't let people open up a Bazooka gum and not see the comics, man. That'll be disappointing. That'll be disappointing.
I'm with you.
Another one, man. I'd love to ask, in what way has their core audience changed over the decades, and will be as advice to brands who strive for sustainability as the world shifts and changes?
Yeah. So in terms of how our consumer has changed, what I would say is these brands, we have Bazooka, Ring Pop, Baby Bottle Pop. Those have all been launched over the last 40 years. So a lot of these brands started out being consumed by a kid. That's who knew them. But today, parents love these brands. Yeah. Young adults love these brands. So what we're seeing is a shift. Is the purchaser and even the person consuming is spanning the age range. I was recently teaching a class at Darden at the University of Virginia. These are all people in their mid-20s. I put the product out, and they were so excited to have the product, eat the product. So you're seeing an evolution of who knows our products, how iconic these brands are, and who consumes it. You asked on the other side about the sustainability. So we continue to work on our products to make them as sustainable as product, whether that's the plastics that we use, the ingredients that go into the product, how you make changes to get rid of things we don't need in the product, excess packaging. We're constantly looking at how to make them more sustainable.
Yeah. How about distribution, right? Because again, me and you were sharing a story, and I was running around all the stores, and I found it at one Dollar General there, and my daughter was telling me, you can get it at Five Below. Are you going to be improving distribution, or am I going to see it more places now? Or are you happy where it is, and e-commerce can take care of it?
Yeah, we are constantly, if you look at our total portfolio, you'd be hard pressed to walk into any store and not find it in those stores. So we are constantly focusing on driving the total portfolio. Different products you'll find in different places. You're talking about Bazooka. We continue to expand distribution there. I think your daughter was mentioning she sees it in Five Below, which is a great store. But yeah, we constantly be growing distribution, but also around the world. For a company our size, we have an incredibly strong footprint in Europe, in Asia, in the Middle East. Everywhere kids love these products. So we're growing our distribution, not just in the U.S. You'll find Bazooka products all around the world in completely different formats that fit that market. But so it's not just here, it's around the world. And e-commerce, you said e-commerce, huge focus for us. We're very successful there. You'll find all of our products as well as Bazooka, and we have really invested ahead of the curve, probably about 6 years ago on the e-commerce side. If you go onto Amazon, you look at the bestsellers, always in the top 5. our Ring Pop 20 count bag. I mean, which surprises people sometimes. Incredibly powerful brand. So across multiple places, driving the distribution of this business.
A couple more leadership things and get into some last minute things, because you're CEO, Tony. You got to get out of. You got more candy to make, right?
I don't want to let people down.
Yeah, you don't want to let people down, man, and I don't want to be the reason why, right? And then, by the way, if you want to come up with a Forbes BLK candy, let me know. We'll talk off the camera. But listen, when you talk about AI, we're in this phase now. I was reading a piece when people submit resumes, right? They're scared that they never get seen by people. What does Tony Jacobs look for in a resume when somebody maybe wants to work for Bazooka, right? They may want to be a salesperson or in your company. What do you look for in a resume? What do you want to see?
Yeah, what I would say is number one, bringing people into the organization is the most important thing. You can talk about products, you can talk about everything else, but great people is what makes us successful. So I'm very engaged in the recruiting process, not just at the people that report to me, but into the organization, because I want to make sure we get people that have the focus, have the passion, have the culture we want to look for. And what's powerful to me is people who bring a balance. Number one, I want to see people have great analytical skills. Not just, hey, they can show me numbers, they can tell me a story from those numbers. What does this all mean and where do we go? Not just the numbers are X, Y, Z. The second piece is creativity. I look for people who are creative, not just creativity in terms of coming up with great ideas for new products, but for overcoming problems. The amount of problems we face today in launching anything and doing anything, it's monumental. People who can have a positive attitude, who can figure out ways to overcome all the challenges faced, that's who's critical to organization. And the final piece is probably obvious, but it's leadership. I look at people who've demonstrated they can lead projects, initiatives, but also lead thinking. I want somebody, no matter what your level, going to come in and be telling me what we should be doing. I want leadership in how you drive your business as well as how you lead the overall thinking of the company. I found no matter what function you're in, you bring those together, great analytics with great communication skills, creativity and how to overcome problems, and leadership skills, that's the winning formula.
And not forget to throw a PowerPoint in there as well, get your attention, right? That PowerPoint helps.
I live and breathe PowerPoint, believe me.
Hey man, listen, we get out here some macroeconomic stuff. Again, we were just talking about the geopolitical things going around the world. You have, 2.5, 3 wars, depending on who you ask, maybe even more U.S.-China tensions. How is this impacting Bazooka Candy Brands?
Yeah, look, it's something we look at all the time, what's going on geopolitically. We operate around the world, so that directly can operate it based on what's going on in certain countries. Today, we're not seeing huge impacts on the business. You have some minor supply chain things, shipping has been affected, and we bring products in from all around the world. And so takes longer, costs a little bit more in certain cases. But obviously, we're watching very closely what's going on over the next couple of years. And we're always looking at, hey, from a production standpoint, from a supply chain, how do we have redundancies? How do we have backup options if a problem flares up here that's going to create a problem? So that's really been my focus, is we can't just be singular in how we make things, about how we get things here. We've got to have multiple options and multiple backup. And when I teach that class, that's what I always tell people. It's always contingency plan. You've always got to have multiple ways, because things will go wrong. You got to figure it out. So it is a dynamic environment, and we are constantly assessing what could happen and how do we have to adapt if that does happen.
Yeah, and speaking of adapting, cocoa prices, right? They've doubled in 2024. Poor weather in Africa definitely contributed to that. We're in another global cocoa shortage, right? Is that impacting Bazooka Candy Brands at all? I know gum is the thing, but I mean, I'm sure you need some cocoa to make some of this stuff.
Yeah, so luckily for us on that, we don't have a big chocolate business, so it doesn't significantly impact us. But as I mentioned when we were off air, I'm the chairman of the board for the National Confectioners Association.
Absolutely.
This affects a lot of our members. So yeah, that's a big issue. Cocoa prices have gone up significantly, and a lot of those companies have to figure out different ways of how they can bring those costs down, how they can address it from a product standpoint, from a supply standpoint. But it's a big focus for the industry right now, because it is incredibly challenging.
Yeah, you look at the U.S. economy, right? I mean, still inflation is still there. You ask people from years ago, they say, listen, this is 5% is nothing compared to where they used to be.
70s,
50, right? Exactly. But still, right? There are families out there that are hurting. Do you see any pullback in your business at all, or is it kind of steady? Because again, everyone loves candy.
Yeah, luckily we have not seen it, but you do see a lot of industries, people pulling back, and you're exactly right. It's a tighter environment for people. Discretionary spending is less. I think in the confectionery industry, what we tend to see is it is a really low-cost indulgence for people. People have confectionery 2 to 3 times a week, and when they they need that emotional well-being that a piece of chocolate or a ring pop can give them, they're willing to pay for it. And again, relative to everything else they're doing, it is a low cost. So luckily, this category and my business has done very well, even though that is a real dynamic in the environment right now.
Absolutely. And look at the, again, U.S. presidential race coming up. Without choosing sides, you're a CEO of a company, a family man, right? But as a CEO of a company, what do you want to see? What do you want to hear from the candidates? Again, without choosing sides, the rest of the way.
To me, it's about stability. We want to know how the things are going to operate. I think the last few years has been challenging because things have changed so much from year to year, whether that's geopolitical, whether that was things like COVID. And how do we get to more stability so we can plan and build the business and drive the business? So I want to see policies that will improve the environment to operate in for business, but again, are stable and consistent year to year, so we know how we can build our business.
Yeah, absolutely. Get you out of here on Good to Great, right? My favorite book is Good to Great. Jim Collins. Jim Collins, I love the book.
I took a class with Jim Collins. He was fantastic.
Really?
Yes.
It was fantastic. How much did he charge you?
It was when I was at Darden. It was free with my education.
I was going to say, did you just give him some Bazooka candy and just make the trade-off?
He was one of the most amazing professors I've ever had.
Listen, I mean, the book is just phenomenal. I love it. What's the difference between a good marketer and a great one?
Yeah, I think a good marketer can develop products that make sense, that work for what's out there and what's in the market, can see other products that are launching and launch things like that. I think a great marketer really can get insights that are really unique out there and really take those insights, match them up with what their brand is all about, come up with things that are authentic to the brand and to the consumer, and launch things that are differentiated and unique in the marketplace. I see a lot of Me Too products. In my career, I've been pushed to launch Me Too because sometimes you see something launched and we can launch that. No, if you're going to do it right, hold to your principles, launch something that really matches with what that consumer wants and that you can actually deliver. You got to be honest with yourself and that you can support. And to me, that's what makes a great marketer.
Yeah, and every year we're going to see any new products coming out of Bazooka Candy? Is there something coming on the line? Oh, really? Something new coming out?
I mean, I can't divulge the new stuff, but we're launching multiple new items every year. Our newest item was our Push Pops gummy Poppets, which has been very, very successful. We got some things going into test market this year that I can share with you off camera.
There you go.
And you can have your 10-year-old give me some thoughts on that. But you'll be seeing a lot of new things from us because every year we are all about our success is based on innovation. We've been very successful for it, so you're going to see more from us.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, I appreciate all the time. Thank you so much for giving me homework to do, right? And also kind of resurrecting my childhood away.
It was fun.
It was great. I mean, this is Bazooka. I mean, you got to love the gum and the comics that you're reading. Tony, thank you so much for the time, man. I look forward to having you come back, updating us on the brand and updating us on the new products. And by that time, hopefully the economy is better and people are spending more money on candy.
Jabari, thank you very much. Thanks for all the homework and the purchases. Anything you need, either the show or your 10-year-old daughter needs, you let me know.
Listen, her school's going to be asking about this stuff right now. There you go, man. Tony Jacobs, Bazooka CEO, Bazooka Candy Brand CEO, right here at the NASDAQ market site. See you next time.